Women are permanent prey every single time they leave the house because of all of these liberal, femme-minded.
Here's a heated conversation that's been trending. Andrew Tate and Piers Morgan debate a tragic event, and the discussion quickly escalates into wider debate on society, media, and ideology. In this interview, they discuss tragic killing of young woman on public transport. Tate highlights what he sees as potential racial motives and media bias, while Morgan emphasizes the need for facts. Before making conclusions, let's break down the key points they cover.
Oh, do you think black people suffer from crime? Do you
I think
they are
everybody
also
suffers from crime? Absolutely.
Yeah.
But I would argue, and perhaps I'm wrong, but that's never happened before, that a black person isn't killed because of the color of their skin. They're going to be killed because there's some other drug dealing debt for them to deal with in inner city Chicago. That young girl was killed because she was white. It was a hate crime, and she was targeted.
We don't actually know that.
Of course we know that.
No.
I'll show you how we know that.
No. I know what you're going to say because I've already debated it. The reality of the situation, you had a severely mentally ill, probably schizophrenic.
I'm
about to tell you.
People are mentally ill.
Let's deal with some facts. Let's deal with some facts. Then you can give me your opinion. That's how this works, right? He is heard on tape saying, "I got the white girl." Okay, that suggests a potential racial motivation.
Potentially.
Yeah, okay.
The main point of tension here is whether the killing was racially motivated. Tate points to the attacker's words, while Morgan advises caution until all facts are verified. Both are presenting their perspectives. The conversation becomes very intense. The debate then shifts to the role of media. Tate argues the media may underreport certain crimes based on race, while Morgan emphasizes the importance of waiting for full information to avoid spreading misinformation. The conversation grows more animated as broader societal issues are discussed.
Okay, but we don't actually know. And I do think, as I've said publicly, I do think the mainstream media has behaved in a very hypocritical manner if that had been the other way round and you'd had a white man killing a beautiful young black girl and saying, "I got the black girl," it would have instantly been a huge story covered by mainstream media in a very aggressive manner. The fact that this was ignored for several days was an indication to me that there was a decision taken.
Of prejudice.
Yeah, so I think there was a clear bias exposed in the way it was ignored. So I would agree with you about that. But I do think it's important to point out this guy had been in and out of prison 14 times, should never have been let out, but is clearly mentally ill, probably schizophrenic. We don't actually know what motivated him to kill this poor Ukrainian woman. And the reason it's important is that once we do establish more information and more facts, we can make a more considered opinion. One of the issues I have with you, Andrew, and a lot of other people, is that there's always a rush to judgment. And the problem with rushes to judgment is later information may contradict what you're feeling in the moment. I remember in the riots that erupted after we had a young black boy killing those poor white girls, right? There was a rush to judgment that he'd come in illegally on a boat on the south coast of the UK. It turned out that wasn't the case. So I believe in waiting for facts and information and then casting a judgment. And I think my criticism of you in these situations is you have immediately decided that was the motivation, therefore it's a racist hate crime, and that's it. And I would argue to you, why don't you give it a bit of time? Why don't you wait for more information and make a more considered opinion?
Okay, first things first, if we're going to talk about waiting for information, you shouldn't have told me that Israel was not committing a genocide on October 8th. You've been proven wrong. That's the first thing. The second thing, he said, "I got that white girl." You're going to pretend that doesn't matter as if it's not proof
I didn't
enough.
say it didn't matter.
Third thing,
I said it suggests a racial motivation.
Everybody who stabs somebody is mentally ill. This mentally ill bullshit, I don't know where this has come from, where someone's a criminal, but they're mentally ill. Every single person who commits murder is mentally ill. Every single person who commits necrophilia is mentally ill. Every single person who believes they can get in and out of a bank with money without getting caught has some kind of mental disorder. They're all mentally ill. I don't care about mentally ill. And here's the final nail in the coffin to your asinine argument, sir. Why did he not stab anyone else on the bus? Because he was already on a bus with 4 people and he didn't touch them. If he's so mental, if he can't control his mind, why didn't he stab any of those? Is it because everyone else on the bus was black? The first white person he sees, he kills and says, "I got that white girl." And you don't believe that's enough proof for a court of law to determine that was a racially motivated attack?
It wouldn't be enough proof at the moment for a court of law, no. Absolutely, I believe that. But that's because I've covered many court cases and you haven't.
They also discuss mental health and societal influences on violent behavior. Tate connect this to wider ideological concerns, but Morgan continues to stress the importance of facts and careful reporting.
No, as a journalist, I just prefer in waiting for more information.
People on the bus, this person, who I will agree was probably deranged, although I give no merit to that, although it does not garner any sympathy from me, he clearly had something wrong with him. This person was radicalized by a leftist media machine, which blames every single thing on white people, which says that white people are the devils, that everything white people have done is wrong, that their entire history is wrong, and that they deserve the bad things that happen to them.
You have no idea. You have no idea that he
demonize an entire race endlessly. We're going to end up having a few idiots who act on that.
But Andrew,
and that's what this man did.
But
because
Andrew,
of the media, the leftist media are complicit in what happened to this poor young girl.
Actually, you have absolutely no idea if anything you've just said is remotely true.
I have absolute certainty that it is a fact.
None of it. It's not a fact. If it was a fact, we'd all be.
It is a fact.
No, it's not a fact yet. That's the point. This is my point. Again,
the
off you go.
Media has done nothing but
making a series of assumptions.
For as long, okay, all right. If you want to be smart, let me prove you wrong.
I'm not being smart. I'm just saying it's not a fact.
Once again, this is Piers. I'm well versed in you by now. This is easy. Let me ask you a question. If there's an Islamic terror attack, like the London bombings, and then Abu Hamza, Mr. Hook, Captain Hook, he ends up going to jail for a very long time. He didn't blow anything up, but no, he was talking about how Islamic terror attacks should happen because he believes that people deserve them because of his personal worldview. He was instigating so that some idiot would listen to him with less brains than him and then go and murder. What is the difference between that and what the leftist mainstream media is doing by constantly demonizing white people constantly and endlessly?
Well,
there's always going to be some
who's
mentally impaired
Allow me to respond.
Who's going to act upon
Allow me to respond.
We're locking up Islamic extremists for discussing violence against
Allow
people
me
who
to
are not
respond.
Muslim. We should also be locking up anybody who is demonizing an entire race, demonizing all of their history, and demonizing them to the point where they cannot get on a bus. They can't get on public transport without worrying about being murdered. And I have a future on this planet where I'm not here. There's a future on this planet where my white daughters exist and I am gone. And they will be victims and targets unless white people start standing up for themselves, standing up for their beliefs, and standing up for their nations. Because you're the only race which is being erased. You're the only one. Nobody is invading and erasing any other race. Only you white people. And you seem to sit there and wonder, oh, maybe it's not too bad. Maybe it's because of this. Maybe it's because of that. It doesn't matter. The world is tribal. You're not going to exist much longer if you don't stick up for yourselves. And you are clearly targets of an orchestrated campaign. There is a campaign which is designed to demoralize and eradicate you. And there are a few idiots who listen to this campaign and act on it savagely in real time on your public transport systems that you pay for with your taxes.
When you stop shouting.
Let me ask you a question, Piers.
Well, why don't you just stop shouting for a moment and let me respond?
The majority of taxes to import white people who don't work to replace them? No other race on the planet would commit suicide to this level besides the white man. And I'm here to encourage the white man to stand up for himself.
Well, since you mentioned taxes, you could explain why the police had to seize more than £2 million from your brother for failing to pay tax on revenue from your online businesses.
Great way to change subject. Why did the British state try and steal my money? Well, considering the British state, the Foreign Office meddled in a foreign country's prosecution service and wrote them a letter and asked the intelligence services of Romania to get me off the internet. I guess, since I'm a national security threat, all bets are off. Of course they stole my money. Of course they do. They do anything they can to me because they consider me the enemy.
But you avoided paying tax, so you raised the issue of being a taxpayer.
They do.
Well, you raised the issue of being a taxpayer.
They want to get rid of the man who talks about the problem.
All right,
as if the UK doesn't have enough issues.
At some point, you need to stop talking.
Let me ask you a question, sir. All of the knife crime that's happening in London, all of the blood that's running on the streets, considering you can't even wear a nice watch in that city anymore, is it white people or black people who are doing the stabbing? I'm half white, half black. You can't offend me. Just tell me the truth.
And who are most of the victims?
Who's doing all the killing?
And who are most of the victims?
Well, some of them are black. Some of them are white. It doesn't matter.
Actually, the vast majority are black. So your whole argument, the whole argument you've been shouting about, the whole argument you've been shouting about for the last 10 minutes, you've just exposed yourself as being a misleading argument.
Absolutely not. I don't care if black people kill only blacks. I don't care if black people only kill Chinese. Black people shouldn't be killing. There is an issue within the black community which is leading them towards violence. We can discuss whether it's genetic, we can discuss whether it's cultural, we can discuss whether it's systemic, we can discuss that. But it is asinine and ignorant to pretend that there is not a culture within the black community which is leading to violence. There clearly is. There clearly is, and that needs to be addressed. I say this as a half black man myself. My father was black. Half of my family is black, but I'm not blind.
This conversation touches on complex topics: race, media influence, mental health, and societal tensions. It's a heated exchange between two strong personalities, each defending their perspective. That was Andrew Tate and Piers Morgan debating a tragic event and the wider issues surrounding it. No conclusions are drawn here, just a look at their discussion and key points. If you want to explore more debates like this, check out the links on screen.